So good evening, everybody. Happy to be here joining you this evening. I have to do this way. Okay. Oh, my goodness. Okay. This is the second year that the department has made itself available and offered to make presentations to neighborhood councils about its proposed budget. I'm very thankful that this alliance has taken us up on the invitation. I'm not sure that we made it to you last year, but I'm happy that this year we were able to find time. I think you are actually the first alliance that we're scheduled to have this presentation with. And we consider it important to be able to present our budget to neighborhood council leaders and alliances, and are thankful that you've added it to your agenda this evening. You've had a robust agenda, and I'm going to make a short presentation so that we can have more time for questions and answers during the period that we have available. Is that okay, Lisa?
I'm sorry, what, can you repeat that?
That's okay. My presentation will be short in order to reserve more time for questions. If that's okay?
Perfect. That would be wonderful. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes.
All right, good. Thank you so much. This is the team that supports, I think, the budget development process. We have, it's a good way of, this actually page is available on our department website. You can go to the department section and you will see all of the staff that's there. We're continuing to fill vacancies, which has been a huge crisis in the city of Los Angeles coming out of the pandemic. All departments were faced with the challenge filling vacancies. The personnel department has been trying to do its best to support all of the general managers in their interest to try to fill vacancies. And what I'm showing you here is Armando Ruiz. We have a director of administration, and Armando, director of policy and government, is Tom Soon. Director of leadership, civic leadership, is Vanessa Serrano, and I'll explain more about what the divisions do. Director of Communications is a new division that came to us in the last maybe 7 months, and we're still creating and onboarding that particular division. We're very happy to have the opportunity to build this division, and our proposed budget reflects resources that we've identified to support that strategy. And Angie Adamayo is the Director of Awareness and Engagement. Those are the divisions in the department. The other staff members that you see here are in the Administrative Services Division, with the exception of a couple others that were helpful in the budget development process. All of these individuals, with the exception of Guadalupe, Kyle, and Manchin, are relatively new. Marilu is completing her first year as a neighborhood empowerment advocate in the department. Our current budget, just to give you a sense of where we are, what our starting point is in our proposed budget, is this is our current budget. It's a $3.9 million budget with 33 regular full-time positions and 7 resolution authority positions. It included a budget for awareness and engagement, and also money to administer the civic university that we do in partnership with the Pat Brown Institute. One thing to share about the city's budgetary process is when you see resolution authority positions, those are not positions in our base budget. Those are positions that they call them resolution authority because they're not considered regular authority positions and have to be requested every single year. Okay. And this is what we're doing in the proposed budget. We're hoping to increase our budget ask to a total of $6.7 million. We want to add 15 new positions in the budget. 7 regularized positions. We want to continue to either have them or move them into permanent positions. It represents a 72% increase in the budget, and with about 55 total staff members if everything were to get approved in our proposed budget. During the time that we're in the Q&A, I'm going to drop a link into the chat that gives you access to a web page that actually where you can see the details of our proposed budget and see all of this as we have it laid out. Our budget is one thing that's important to realize about the budget process this year is Our budget, all general managers submitted their budgets to Mayor Garcetti's office when he was mayor. And we're now needing to wait and to see how Mayor Bass will be wanting to take the reins from here on the proposed budget development process. So we haven't received any instructions yet from Mayor Bass's office or her budget team. I know that they're assembling their teams. They're trying to fill their office themselves. And we expect to hear soon from the Mayor Bass's office about the process they'll be using to evaluate the submissions from all of the departments. This is the org chart for the leadership team that we just showed you. So I let you know who all the directors were. And one of the new things that we want to do in the proposed budget is to add another position of the new positions that we identified and shared with you on the previous chart for a chief management analyst. What I want to do this year is to focus on the administrative services division. It's probably been the most neglected division of all the divisions in the department. It's also the one that I think is most significantly impacts neighborhood councils and the administration and support that we provide neighborhood councils. We certainly would like to have more neighborhood empowerment advocates, but I actually believe that in order to better serve neighborhood councils, we need to really create a more robust, efficient, and customer-focused administrative services division in order to do a better job. I think that would also be more responsive to the things that neighborhood councils have told us through the various feedback sessions, surveys. Everything that we have in our proposed budget is based on things that neighborhood councils shared with us. We want to add a project assistant position in the civic leadership division. This is the division that administers the Core Institute that is put if you look at our workshops and info page on the website, Vanessa is the one who's been leading all of that work. She's now in the process of trying to and has already done some work to take the videos from the Core Institute sessions and workshops and to try to segregate them so that you can actually go to the topics at the minute that those topics are up, instead of listening to a whole 2-hour session to find maybe 15 or 20 minutes of information that's of interest to you. She's also in the process of putting together the next iteration of the onboarding series that really kicked off the Core Institute in 2021 in anticipation of new people coming onto the boards. What we also envision moving forward is having a monthly orientation available for neighborhood council leaders. You all are appointing a lot of people to your boards every single month. All of those individuals miss the opportunity to be introduced to the system through an orientation. We think it'll be helpful, and you have said that it would be helpful if we had an orientation on a regular basis, as opposed to just waiting until after the election period. Vanessa leads that work in civic leadership. The policy and government division, here what we're looking for is to add a project coordinator position, but also a commission executive assistant. That's one of the resolution authority positions that we have in the current budget. We just finished conducting interviews to fill this vacancy. All the new positions in this current year were budgeted at 6 months. And we expect to make an offer on this position next week and hope to continue that position moving forward. But what we want to do with a new project coordinator position, I think that's the level that we'll be looking at, is we want to create a CIS manager position to oversee and to the community impact statement portal and the process that goes into supporting the community impact infrastructure in the neighborhood council system. As many of you might know, the council file management system that's administered by the city clerk's office does not support boards and commissions in the city of Los Angeles. So for us to support you in the CIS process, we are asking for a position that would be dedicated to that and to continuing the maintenance on the new portal that will be released hopefully in February to improve the technology available to you to file your community impact statements. The Awareness Engagement Division, we talked about, this is the one that is actually administering what we call the life cycle of engagement in the neighborhood council system. It's awareness, engagement, election outreach, and getting involved. We are Empower LA Awareness and Engagement Survey that we finished in January is up on the website. You can see the data that we collected from over 6,000 people in the city of Los Angeles about their experiences with neighborhood council. Among other data points, 27% of those respondents had never heard of the neighborhood council system. So that tells us that a lot of work has to be done to create an awareness about neighborhood councils, and then to get people engaged, and then hopefully participating in the election process and to get involved on a regular basis. And our engagement strategy plan reflects that. The innovation division is the director position is currently vacant, as is one of the project coordinator positions here, and we hope to add a new coordinator position to this division. This is the position that really oversees a lot of the data development that we've had in the past, although we've been shifting around some of those responsibilities and assignments. But we really want to continue that work. In our proposed budget, one of the duties and responsibilities of this division is going to be to oversee, if it's funded, an exit survey of people when participating in the neighborhood council elections. We've never had an exit survey. We plan to try to, if it's funded, to administer an exit survey so we can really get a sense of what people are experiencing when they participate in neighborhood council elections. Lots of universities and research institutes conduct exit surveys. It won't be hard to find someone with the expertise to be able to carry out those responsibilities. The communications division is new. Two things we want to really focus on in the communications division. One is to improve the work, the information that we provide you from departments. Departments, when they send us information to distribute out to you, or even the mayor's office, it isn't always ready to turn around and to share with you in a way where you can easily then share that information with your constituents. The communications division needs a graphic designer that can repurpose and create content that's much easier for you to use. We want to be a more full service division. We want to be able to also spend a lot more time supporting the work of the A&E division as it relates to creating tools for awareness and engagement that really speak in easy to understand language so that people understand the system, but also understand the issues before the city council. This division would also help package content for you as it relates to the community impact statements. The policy and government division administers the CIS portal. Lorenzo Briseño sends you the legislative reports. He just sent one out Friday, for example. Although city council had not been meeting, but we sent out the information about the proposed committee chair assignments before the city council in order to help you with your community impact statements processing. This division would help with all of that as well. So again, I've mentioned that the admin division is really our focus. This kind of gives you a sense of the growth that we would hope to see in the admin division. We want an entire records retention unit to be created. I think I saw Marion here from Chatsworth. I think I saw her in the panel. She's been asking us for some information that we don't have in the office. We're going to Piper Tech tomorrow, as a matter of fact, to try to find it. We need a better system for records retention, especially for archive materials. This division would administer that, and we're asking for the resources to be able to do that kind of work. We also have money in the budget for this year to hire a management analyst to manage a dispute resolutions unit, a conflict resolutions unit. We want to continue to do that work and expand the work of what we think that division can do. It's actually becoming more and more of a priority for us to be able to position ourselves to really support boards in the board dynamic issues that they manage on a regular basis. There are quite a few challenges, and we see that there are many opportunities to do interventions, many opportunities to do in-service trainings, mediation, before really problems escalate to some critical circumstances. So the admin division would really, those are some key things that we would like to see in the admin division based on the proposed budget. So again, we've talked about the alignment of our priorities with the mayor's priorities, but those were also, as we mentioned before, former Mayor Garcetti's priorities. So it's in alignment with that. We'll see if Mayor Bass's administration would like to continue these priorities or establish her own. I'm suspecting that there will be some changes to these priorities. We all know that homelessness is a priority. She's already issued the declaration of emergency, and her first executive director has been on her Inside Safe programming. So we'll see what is expected of us in terms of realigning our resources to support those strategies. So when we think about our budget, it supports the neighborhood council's achievement of the charter-driven decisions or responsibilities, helps us to be better advocates for neighborhood councils, and also to help you be advocates for your community by providing you the resources that you need, embracing the complexity of the neighborhood council system. And one of the key challenges that we have moving into that's already before us is changes in the the state's open meeting laws, the Brown Act, that are going to affect empowered virtual governance, virtual meetings. We're going back to in-person March the 1st, once the state declaration of emergency is lifted. We're doing a lot of work right now in partnership with neighborhood council leaders through an empowered virtual governance work group to come up with protocols and Zoom settings to administer hybrid meetings consistent with what is authorized in a new law that took effect on January 1st, but will go into effect once the declaration of emergency is lifted to allow Brown Act bodies to administer hybrid meetings. We are also quickly trying to help neighborhood councils get ADA inspections of the physical locations that they've identified for their return to in-person. And then we really need to work with neighborhood councils that have not been able to find a location in order to assist them in their efforts to try to find a place to meet so that they can continue their operations. We also have really embraced a culture of continued feedback in the department. We have budget in our budget requests, an allocation to be able to do that kind of work. It's been immensely helpful to us. Your voice is important. We listen to what you have to say, and it reflected in what you are seeing here in our proposed budget. So I kind of bounced through these pieces in terms of what we're wanting to add for the different divisions when I showed you the org chart. So I'll skip through these slides for you. And just in terms of the next steps, we are waiting for additional discussion with the Chief Administrative Officer. They've already sent us some questions to respond to, which is traditional as they examine our budget more carefully. We are waiting for the CAO's recommendations to be released this month. We then have a joint meeting with the mayor's budget team typically, and the CAO's office somewhere between the end of January and February, based on previous schedules. The mayor's budget will be released in April. The Budget and Finance Committee hearings will begin in May. If the proposed chairmanship for the Budget and Finance Committee is approved next week, based on now Council President Krikorian's recommendations and based on a memo he submitted to the City Clerk's office, Councilmember Blumenfield will now assume the appointment as a Budget and Finance Committee chair. He has a lot of experience, previously served as the vice chair. And the council hearings will begin in May and will go through June, and the City Council will adopt their budget by June, with the mayor's approval by also June. So that's pretty much the schedule for the budget process, and I've quickly summarized what we have in mind and what we're asking for in the proposed budget. So I'm happy to respond to questions.
Raquel, I'm sorry, but Blair had told me that you wanted 20 minutes total. So we actually need to move on because that was 20 minutes, and we actually have a few more things to do before we close in 5 minutes.
I'm happy to come back in the future if you'd like me to do that. I've at least had an opportunity to share kind of the big picture of items, and what I'll do is drop in the chat the links to where you can find our budget and serve you any way you like.
Perfect. That's wonderful. And folks, if you I'll try to put the link to the evaluation in the chat one more time. And if you do have questions for her, and if you would like her to come back to address the budget, if you could put that in the evaluation, then and if we hear that from a lot of folks, we will invite her back to answer questions. Thank you. That was really helpful, and it's nice to hear that. Sounds like we're going in the right direction at any rate in terms of support for neighborhood councils.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, folks. I am going to have us very briefly go through our committee reports. And while I open that up, Charles, can I ask you, because the board was texting about this is a more contentious meeting than typical, which we'll have to debrief. But Charles, I thought you said some things that were helpful. I'm wondering if you would like to share that with people.
Sure. I think one of the things that maybe we didn't emphasize properly here was the discussion with the LCI people was not about approving their proposal. It was really just about deciding whether or not we were going to be part of the coalition going forward and have a seat at the table. And I think we improperly or failed to emphasize that enough, so that there was a sense in the room that maybe we were rushing to decide something that we weren't fully informed about as to whether or not this big overlapping massive project was a thumbs up or a thumbs down for us, when it's more like, do we kind of agree with some of the goals here and the ambitions here? And do we want to be part of this as part of the coalition to help shape it, especially to address some of the concerns that some of the people have had in our room tonight? And so maybe that perspective needed to be emphasized so that everybody here who's not really thrilled with the way it went or feels like it was not fully explained to them understands you have an opportunity to be part of it going forward, and we have an opportunity to shape it. And I think one thing for sure that Lindsay and Ed emphasized is that they are amenable to conversations about trying to make it so it is more workable for people.
Yeah, thank you. Well said. Okay, moving on, because we just have a few minutes and several committee reports. The wildlife ordinance really needs help. So if you haven't submitted a CIS, your neighborhood council probably does. And even if you have, if it was a long time ago, it might behoove us to submit a new one. We're actually not sure we're even going to get it heard very easily, and we still want it strengthened. So please keep that in mind. And if you're looking for something to do, this is my #1 request. Sepulveda Basin, I don't think we have a concrete motion on that yet, but we are hoping to move that one quickly as well. There's information on both of these on our website. There's more stuff going on, and our next meeting is actually next Sunday. It will be sort of like this. It will be a little time constrained because we're having a presentation from Abundant Housing LA. But we will try to touch on some of the big, most time sensitive things, and all stakeholders. I've heard recently that that's not a PC term. So I don't know, all people in LA are welcome. Okay. Our energy committee chair is not here tonight, so we're going to skip that. Muriel.
Hello. So I'm just going to go over. Hello. Mute.
You're not muted.
I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. I was confused because my screen isn't lit up. So okay. Sorry. So I'm going to cover. We had a meeting in December and in January. I know I'm always like the first committee meeting, so I always have a lot to say. Jason Ives came out and spoke on auto fatalities in perspective. Lindsay and Ed also came and spoke on the Livable Communities Initiative updates. Barbara Broyd brought up bus shelter ads, the vote postponement until January, and Adrienne from Get Around and Nancy Manson had brought up a citywide car share initiative, and we're still in the process of like working through votes, and it might potentially come to this meeting. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I hope we'll be voting on a car share effort next month, folks. So stay tuned. Trees, Joanne.
Am I muted?
You're not.
Okay, good. So we haven't met in a long time because of the holidays and because I gave a workshop, and so did Charles, at Congress of Neighborhoods in September. So we're meeting this month on the 28th, and I'm going to do the demo that I didn't do at the Congress, partially because of time and partially because the city tree inventory was down on Saturday morning. So I'm going to do a live demonstration on how to manipulate it and find out stuff. And the other part is how to write a comment to a DEIR. This is under CEQA. There are draft environmental impact reports that certain developments are required to do. Also MMDs, which is a lighter version of it. And it's important to know how to find these and to make comments that are substantiated. And while it sounds difficult, it's actually easy to do if you know some tricks. And I'm going to demonstrate those tricks. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you, Joanne.
And email me if you aren't on our list and want to come.
Okay,
Right.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you. I have one announcement, which is that we do have a couple of holidays in February. So our next meeting is actually going to be the 26th. And by request, we're going to have LA Sanitation come back and give us an update on the food waste efforts. You probably know that the city of LA is way behind the state mandates, but we don't know the latest. I frankly haven't heard anything since they were here last February. So we're going to get an update, and I'm hoping, I have to talk to the board about this, but now that we have city council committee assignments, I'm hoping we can have some of those committee chairs or committee members come to our next meeting to talk about the agenda, the legislative agenda that would be relevant to us. So stay tuned for that. And also, as I said, we have to run this through the board, but I also hope that we'll have a vote on a car sharing effort that a lot of us have been involved with. Okay, that's it for me. Silva, do you have an announcement? No, Glenn does not have any other, and does anybody else have any announcements? Go ahead, Lionel.
Yes, I would like to make a public service announcement. Thank you, Chair Lisa Hart, that Ciclavia will be returning to the San Fernando Valley. Thank God, and in February of next month. You could check out ciclavia.org for more details. And secondly, Streets for All will be hosting a happy hour with Councilmember Nithya Rahman on January 11th on Zoom from 5 to 6 p.m. You can find the information on their Twitter account or streetsforall.org to sign up for Zoom. Basic registration, name and email, and that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lionel. Anybody else?
I have a question. Are we going to continue to meet on Zoom after March 1st? Are we going to try to meet in person or what?
Well, I think we said this. I've asked many times what people wanted to do, where I landed, and we've had one in-person meeting. It was at Westwood Greenway, where Charles was a board member, and we're thinking of doing that roughly quarterly. We're totally open to feedback. That's what we've sort of landed on, because frankly, some of you might know that before Zoom was in our lives to this extent, I was on Zoom before the lockdown, but most people weren't. We were looking for something like this because it's so hard with such a big city, and we used to move around physically, and frankly, far too much of my time was spent finding locations, meeting locations. So that's my suggestion. That's what we've been doing, but open to different proposals. And of course, it depends on public health and that stuff. But and we're also looking like right now things are still a little iffy. So my approach is to try to make those quarterly in-person meetings outdoors. So we'll see how that goes. Clara, go ahead.
Yes, I was just going to say, we have trouble finding your agendas. Is there some kind of, could you put in the chat how we find them?
Well, we haven't, if you were not here at the beginning of the meeting, you missed it. We shared it, but if you weren't here in the beginning, you would not have seen it. And roughly, it's also on not all the specifics, but the bulk of the content is also on the website where you RSVP'd. Maybe that's not enough. Maybe we need to change it, but that's how we've done it for the last, I guess, since we've been on Zoom, that's how we've been doing it. But we can look into trying to do that differently if that.
Somebody sent me the link to the meeting, and so I never saw your website. And then I'd go to NCSA and I'd find old agendas, and I just couldn't find it.
Oh, you go to events, and then it's there. It's, you scroll down and this is the only event right now. So it's if you go to events, which is on the top navigation bar, but I can help you offline if you need more help than that.
And I wasn't the only one who had difficulty. So you post your agenda like 72 hours in advance.
No, well, we posted it, like a week or so in advance, but we do not follow the Act. So we are not, I mean, we posted earlier than that because we want to reach people, but we don't have a 72-hour rule, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
I think what she wants to know is that the Zoom link comes out after you RSVP, and you have to know where to RSVP.
Right, you have to RSVP, you go to events and then you RSVP at the event page and then you get the Zoom link. I hope that helps. It's designed so that people must RSVP, but I guess if people are passing around the Zoom link, that won't work. And that would lead to your confusion if you did not RSVP. That would definitely contribute to your confusion.
So it's required, right, to RSVP?
It's designed to be required. You can work around it, but one of the reasons it's designed to be required is so that you do have that information, so that you do know what's being discussed. Does that make sense? Sorry, I'm capping the chat, so I can't see people. So I can't see your nonverbals, but I hope that makes sense to folks. I guess we have some new folks tonight. In which case, yeah, that's how we do it. Okay, Charles, you had an announcement, and we're
Yeah,
over
very
time.
quickly.
Oh, I'll try to put the evaluation back in but we are over time, so totally get it if you need to go while we're wrapping up. Try to put
Very
the link to the
quickly, I
eval in
wanna-
the meeting one more time, in the chat one more time. Go ahead.
Okay, very quickly, I want to invite everybody to the Tarzana Native Plant Fair this upcoming Sunday, the 15th. It's a free thing from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. There'll be plant nerds like me telling you why you should plant natives and how they're super cool. And also other people like, I don't know, eating food and singing songs and all this kind of hippie stuff that's cool, totally free and cool. And you should come and hang out and we'll all be happy. And we'll give a big group hug for everyone who comes so we can get, some positive energy going.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Oh, go to mytarzana.org if you want more information.
All right, great. Thank you, Charles. Barbara?
A quick, thank you. Muriel mentioned quickly about billboards. Metro Board will consider on January 27th their plan to install 97 digital billboards across LA City. And they will be voting to consider the FEIR that was done for the program. A number of neighborhood councils have submitted comments opposing it. The city will still have to implement an ordinance in order to implement the program, because in some cases it's on shared city land with Metro, but there are a whole bunch of problems about it. So if you're interested, people can contact me, and you can also submit comments to the Metro Board or speak at the meeting. It's a bad thing. Some of those signs are even targeted toward the Bayona wetlands. So big traffic disruptor, distraction, and not good for the environment. Thank you.
I just want to say, Joanne, there's a rough agenda. We say what we're going to talk about and what we're going to vote on and what's going to be presented. That's all on the place to RSVP, and those things never go away. They're under past events. You can get it. That's where we post the recording. So you can go 10 years from now and you'll be able to see the rough agenda for tonight's meeting.
It just meant it didn't look like a neighborhood council agenda.
Oh, no, not at all. True,
Yeah.
very true,
That's what
very
I meant.
true, because we are not a neighborhood council. Good
Right.
point. Glenn, go ahead.
Yes, first of all, there was a few exchanges in the chat. I had put in about the budget advocates doing a town hall on the done budget. It's the only thing on the agenda, so go into great detail with full Q&A. We did it last year. And Raquel put a reply in. I don't know if everyone saw both chats, so I want to make sure there's no confusion. I had put the original date we had agreed to. She put into chat she's not available then. So it most likely will be February 18th, time to be determined. So it'll be, I presumably after, no, it won't be after your next meeting because you're changing your meeting. Anyway, check the Budget Advocates website. I'll put it in the chat, budgetadvocates.org, and you can get those details, but it likely appears now it'll be on February 18th. The other thing I want to say is Raquel mentioned something that was very helpful. The legislative report that was sent out to all the neighborhood council board members included the attachment from Paul Kokorian with the new city council committee names. Half of them have changed, as well as all the membership. So that was helpful. I didn't even know that till I checked it. So look, if you're a neighborhood council board member, you got the legislative update, check the attachment and you'll get that information. It will be very helpful. Now, I understand it's supposed to be voted on by city council on Tuesday, but we've checked the city council agenda. We haven't found it, but I'm sure it'll be approved, very quickly, very soon. So use that as your, to reset the names of half the committees and the membership. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you. And Katie Young-Yaroslavsky is so I didn't know that it needed to be approved. So that's helpful, Glenn. I'd heard it. I thought it was the final, but she is apparently going to be the next chair of the ECCA EJR committee, which is one of the committees that we really pay attention to. So
the part that has to be approved primarily is whenever they change the structure of the committees, they assign different departments, they combine, they separate. That all has to be approved by council because they're moving city departments and purposes from one committee name, because as the names change.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So there's always a resolution that explains that in detail, and it lists all the different departments and programs. And it's very helpful as you look to figure out which is the council. For example, there is a committee now called Neighborhoods and Community Enrichment. You wouldn't know from that name that it's the former Arts, Parks, Health, Education, and Neighborhoods. Those other 4 things are no longer there. So we're looking for that resolution. When we find it, we'll forward it to you. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, that's helpful. I didn't know that. Go ahead, Polly.
Just wanted to know, could you send us the link to that, to the list of the committees and who is on the committees that you just mentioned? I think you said it was sent out to all the major representatives of the neighborhood councils.
It was an attachment. I've looked on the city clerk's website and it hasn't been posted there yet, so I do not have a link.
But did you say it? Could I get a copy of that? Is basically what I'm asking.
Yeah, I'm saying check if you're a neighborhood council board member, check the legislative update report that was sent
But
out.
I'm not a neighborhood council board member.
Okay, well, you can check with your local neighborhood council.
I don't know that we have a board member who's here for the Greater Wilshire Neighborhood Council, because I think it would be Kathy, but I don't think we have one.
So I think we should, this is really not for the whole group. So
Exactly.
Polly, you could reach out to me later if you want help. I actually I'm not on that list either, but I can tell you more.
Lisa, I'll send it to you. Maybe you could post on the NCSA website.
Okay, okay. You don't want me to give you my email address, right? No.
You can DM each other in the chat right now. You guys can
Okay,
figure that
thank
out, the 2 of you.
Sorry to take up your time. Sorry.
Thank you, Polly. All right, are we done, folks? All right, let's do a big virtual group hug.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
I want to thank all of you. I think I learned a lot. I'm really, really inspired by the Livable Communities Initiative, and some of you perhaps anxious about it, but as Charles said, we're going to have a lot of opportunities for input. We're at the very beginning of this process. So stay tuned. And if you join our committees, you will feel more in the know, and you will feel less rushed, because we've discussed this here before, just so you know, and we've discussed it in our transportation committee at least, I'm going to say at least 3 times off the top of my head. So that might be part of why some people are feeling.
Where do you copy the chat?
I'm copying the chat. I'm going to copy the chat. Sometimes I don't, but I'm going to do that. All right. Thank you, folks, and have a lovely evening.